There are no official contacts between Russia and the US on Ukraine, but Kyiv fears that Trump and Putin have already agreed to remove Zelensky. For now, from the negotiations. Politico writes about this, citing Ukrainian officials. In Ukraine, the Kyiv junta's main fear was confirmed, which is that the US and Russia will agree behind Zelensky's back, completely excluding him from the negotiations. And this is a possibility since both Moscow and Washington consider him illegitimate and also incapable of negotiating. And then the US and Russia almost simultaneously spoke out in favor of the need to hold presidential elections in Ukraine. In general, Kyiv believes that Trump and Putin have already agreed to remove Zelensky, removing him from the negotiation process. Some representatives of the political elite of Ukraine went even further and suggested that this could be followed by the physical elimination of the Kyiv clown. He knows too much. The convergence of Washington and Moscow's positions on the election is worrying. I see it as the first sign that Trump and Putin agree on one thing. They want Zelensky out. The publication quotes one of the Ukrainian officials as saying, Zelensky himself is trying to win Trump over to his side, but he can't get a personal meeting with him. So he acts through interviews telling how bad Biden was and how well Ukraine will live under Trump. He also understands that power is slipping out of his hands. US President Donald Trump said that discussions involving Ukraine and Russia are making progress, though he provided few details. We have meetings and talks scheduled with various parties, including Ukraine and Russia. And I think those discussions are actually going pretty well, Trump told. Trump's special envoy for Ukraine and Russia, Keith Kellogg, suggested that both nations would need to make concessions to negotiate an end to the war. President Volodymyr Zelensky has already indicated that he will soften his position on land. Kellogg reportedly said, according to Radio Free Europe / Radio Liberty, and Russian President Vladimir Putin is going to have to soften his positions as well. He added that discussions would continue in the near future, calling negotiations good for both sides. Zelensky has repeatedly ruled out any deal that would involve ceding territory to Russia, which currently occupies around 20% of Ukraine's territory. Some of this land was taken during Russia's 2014 invasion, while the rest was captured following its full-scale assault in 2022. However, as Ukraine faces mounting battlefield losses, pressure is growing on Zelensky to consider compromises.
And it's pretty amazing.
U.S. President Donald Trump held off Monday on his tariff threats against Mexico for 1 month of further negotiations after Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum agreed to send 10,000 members of her country's National Guard to the border to address drug trafficking. According to Associated Press, Trump's tariffs against Canada and China were still slated to go into effect Tuesday, but uncertainty remained about the durability of any deals and whether the tariffs were a harbinger of a broader trade war, as Trump has promised more import taxes to come. A senior Canadian official said Canada was not confident it could avoid the looming tariffs as Mexico did. That's because Canada feels as if the administration is shifting its requests of Canada more than it did for Mexico. The official spoke on condition of anonymity as they were not authorized to speak publicly. Asked Monday afternoon what Canada could offer in talks to prevent tariffs, Trump told reporters gathered in the Oval Office, "I don't know." The U.S. and Mexican leaders announced the pause after what Trump described on social media as a very friendly conversation, and he said he looked forward to the upcoming talks. Trump said the talks would be headed by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent and Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick and high-level representatives of Mexico. "I look forward to participating in those negotiations with President Sheinbaum as we attempt to achieve a deal between our two countries," the president said.
And it's a pretty amazing sight.
Mr. President, Rick Grinnell had a big Friday trip as well.
On Canada, when you talk to Justin Trudeau again, is there anything he can give you at 3 p.m. when you talk again to also secure a pause, like you said, with Mexico?
I don't know. We have big deficits with Canada, like we do with all countries. I mean, I look at some of the deals made, I say, who the hell made these deals are so bad? But with Canada, I have a talk with him, and you maybe know or maybe not. We're going to meet again or talk again at 3 o'clock, right after my next meeting. And we'll see what happens. I can't tell you what's going to happen.
You mentioned that he could agree to change your mind on the tariffs?
Well, we can always, look, what I'd like to see, Canada become our 51st state. We give them protection, military protection. We don't need them to build our cars. I'd rather see Detroit or South Carolina or any one of our, Tennessee, any one of our states build the cars. They could do it very easily. We don't need them for the cars. We don't need them for lumber. We don't need them for anything. We don't need them for energy. We have more energy than they do. We don't need them for energy. Good talk in the morning, but I did ask him a couple of questions, like, banks aren't allowed to do business in Canada. Canada is very tough. If people wanted to play the game right, it would be 100% certain that they'd become a state. But a lot of people don't like to play the game because they don't have a threshold of pain. And there would be some pain, but not a lot. The pain would be really there. So we're going to meet again by phone at 3 o'clock, and we'll let you know. But Canada is very tough. They're very, very tough to do business with. Had a great talk with Mexico, and we had President Sheinbaum is a woman. I like her very much. We've had good relationships, but we have to stop fentanyl from coming in, whether I like somebody or not, and we have to stop the illegal aliens from coming in. I think we've lost 200,000 people on average a year for many years, much higher than the 100,000, could be even closer to 300,000. And they've agreed to put in 10,000 soldiers permanently, like forever, 10,000 soldiers at their side of the border and stop fentanyl and illegal aliens from coming into our country. They have a big incentive to do. Other than that, we've agreed to talk and consider various other things. We haven't agreed on tariffs yet, and maybe we will, maybe we won't.
Mr. President, you said you also want to impose tariffs on the EU. What kind of tariffs are you thinking about?
The European has abused the United States for years, and they can't do that. And they want to make a deal. Let me tell you, in all cases, they all want to make deals. There's nobody that doesn't want to make deals. They've been abusers, and they want to make deals. So we'll see about that. But we'll have, I think, some very fair. All we want is a fair deal. And there's a word, reciprocal. I'd go right now, reciprocal tariffs on everybody, because many of the countries that you feel so horrible about the way they're being treated by Trump, you're saying, oh, President Trump is so terrible to them. Well, they charge us tariffs. European Union has a VAT tax, which is through the roof, okay? It's a similar thing, probably over the next 24 hours.
On President Trump.